So I wanted to ask, is the recording okay? Because maybe if I don't understand, then I can watch the video on YouTube.
Yes, I just started recording now. All right, perfect. So we are doing management accounting. Now, management accounting is divided into 3 topics. Or let me say, I divided it in 3 topics because it's taught as one topic, but I just thought, let me rather split it up in 3 so that it's easier to understand. So the first topic that we are going to do today, it's the one that just deals with break-even analysis, and we are going to talk about calculations, because this is the basis of the whole topic. You need to know the calculations, break-even analysis. Now, these calculations, I have divided them into 2, because remember, this is the mastery program. I need to make sure that you understand perfectly. So these calculations, there's a section that is easier. Now, the section that is easier is for you to just grasp the concept around it, just for you to know the formulas, just a little bit easier. The exam can also come in that way. But sometimes the exam can also be complex. I've seen some of the questions that are also a bit complex. So we are going to do both examples. Now, then there's a next section, which is called the break-even chart. Break-even chart as well. If you know the calculations, the chart will become easier. Then the third section is decision making in marginal costing. Now, this decision making in marginal costing, we have 4 decision making. We have what we call pricing a product. Okay, I think I didn't make a question on pricing a product. I just have to do that. Pricing a product. We have what we call make or buy. We have what we call accept or reject a special order. And finally, we have what we call continue or discontinue. Discontinue product line. So for today, because I need to make sure that you master, for today we are only going to deal with the analysis and the calculations. Because I need to make sure that you understand perfectly, so we are not going to rush through things. So we are only going to do the calculations. I already gave you the formulas, and I said, please make sure that you have an idea, especially if you have not yet done the topic at school. At least you must have an idea of what are these formulas talking about, so that when I come and explain, at least you have seen fixed cost divided by contribution. Okay. Now, let's first go through the formula before we go to the questions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 formulas that you need to know here. 8 of them. There used to be 10, I think, but some of them are really not needed. They are not part of the syllabus. So they are just, these are the only ones that are needed. And in actual fact, there are only 4. Because if you know these 4, then it becomes easier to understand these ones. Why do I say so? Because this 4 is talking about, this one is talking about per unit. So if you can get an answer for 1 unit, then it should be easy to get for the total for the whole company. If you can get for 1 unit, then it should be easy to get for the total for the whole company, because what do? You just multiply with output. And break even, this is in units. If you can get the break even in units, then you must be able to also get it in dollars. This word break even in sales, it can also be break even in dollars, because you just multiply with the selling price. When we start doing it practically, you will understand. Number of units required to get the target profit. Number of units is just the same as here. Units. But when we come now to the sales value, which is in dollars, you just again multiply with the selling price. So you can see we are multiplying with the selling price here. We are also multiplying with the selling price there. Why? Because here the answer is asking in units, and here it's also asking in units. When it comes to dollars or in sales, we just multiply with the selling price. But that's just a snapshot of it. We'll start doing it now practically. And the fourth formula, which is contribution to sales ratio, this is the same as what we call gross margin at ordinary level. I think it's also at AS level, gross margin, where contribution per unit divided by selling price. Contribution per unit, I told you, and no, I didn't. Contribution, it's like gross profit divided by the sales times 100. And this one is just an income statement of which it's made out of what we have on top there. Now, this formula, excuse me? Hello, someone want to say something? Okay, so these are the only ones that we have. I hope you have written them down, or you have studied them at least. Let's come to the information. Alpha Manufacturing produces and sells a single product. Now, this is the easier one. Easier one, straight to the point, no complications. We'll finish it, then we go to the complications, and I tell you, when you find something like this, look out for this and this and this. Alpha Manufacturing produces and sells a single product. The following information relates to the product for the year ended 31st May 2025. Now, when you get a question on marginal costing, you need to get 3 things, if not 4. Luckily here, they are all given, because remember I told you, this one is the easiest. Which are those 3 or 4 things that you need when you are doing this question? The first one that you need is the selling price. Here, the selling price is given as clearly as possible. The selling price is, I've been trying to log in. Okay. The selling price is given as clearly as possible, but in some questions, the selling price might be given in a complicated way that you might have to figure out how to get it. For example, they will just tell you that the total sales is, the font size is smaller. Let's make it a bit bigger. They'll just tell you that the total sales is 100,000, the total sales. And then they will tell you number of units sold. Number of units sold, then maybe they will say it's 5,000. Now, in this case, the selling price is not given, but the information that we have can give you the selling price. Because you just take how much is your total sales divided by the number of units. So in a question, the first thing that you need to look for is the selling price. In our case, it's already given. The second thing that you need to look for is the variable cost. The variable cost. Which one is the variable cost? The costs that change with output. The direct costs. Those costs, when output is $10, it's only 10 units, then the costs are maybe 20. But as output changes, this one also changes. You must look for them. Now, in some exercises, this word variable cost per unit 120 will not be there. You will just get a lot of information, and then you need to add together. You must figure out, you must calculate, and then you check, oh, okay, now this is my total variable cost. That's now another example that we are going to do later. Whether we do it today or next Saturday, or if I organize a class tomorrow, it doesn't matter. The idea is for you to understand. It's not for us to finish it. Then the next one that you need to know is to find is the fixed costs. Fixed costs that do not change with output. If you are doing economics or business, you must know already these things. And then the final one is the number of units sold. Not always that you need it, but there are times that you might need it. But the first three compulsory, they need to be in the question. If they are not in the question, then that question, the setter really wants to stress you. And okay, let me not say things that will not happen. Okay, so we have those 4 things. When you get to the question, those are the 4 things that you must get. But because this question is the easiest one, they are already given to you. Now we are going to move fast so that we can rather go to the other complicated one. Let's start. I've already given you the formula. What is the formula for this one? Here we are looking for contribution per unit. Maybe first I must explain what is contribution. Contribution is the difference between your selling price and your cost price. This is just a fancy word that is trying to say profit, gross profit. It's just a fancy word for gross profit. It's just that in this topic, we don't mention the word gross profit, we mention contribution. And we already know that in order for us to get our gross profit, we say our sales less our cost. Our selling price minus our cost price. Even if you are selling something at school and you want your profit, how much is your selling price? How much is your cost price? So this is the contribution. Now, can someone give me the formula quickly?
Selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit.
Selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. Now, remember, we are using per unit because the question is also saying per unit. If they say calculate contribution, then it's not per unit. For you to calculate per unit, they need to specify the word per unit. If it were just calculate contribution, then it's not, we are not going to do it that way. We are going to do it like in Roman 2. Now, 200 is the selling price. All of us can see it there. I don't even need to ask it from you. Minus 120, our profit is 80. If you leave out the dollar sign, I think it will be marked correct, but don't leave it out. You never know who is marking that here. So it's 80. So we know that our profit is 80, but we don't use the word profit. We use the fancy word, which is contribution per unit. So we can say contribution per unit. Just to show that you were part of the mastery program, you can add the word per unit. Total contribution. It's not always that they will ask you contribution per unit and then total contribution. They might only ask one of them. They might only ask contribution. They'll give you this information, then they say calculate contribution. Now you will get it in 2 ways. The first way is just to say my total contribution. If my contribution for 1 unit is 80, how many units do I have? I have 48,000 units. Then my total contribution has to be? Can I get the answer? Someone with the answer?
384.
3,884,000.
3,840,000.
384.
3,840,000.
3 million. That is the total contribution. It was too much now. I was just taking figures in from the head. Accounting questions usually don't go to millions. I was just taking figures out of my head. This is one way to do it. This is one way to do it. Now, what is the second way to do it? The second way to do it is to do it like you have a business. If you have a business, you will say, I am selling a product that is costing 120 and the product are 48,000. I don't even know if this is the formula that I gave you, but it will work anyways. One product is 120 and I have 48,000 products. How much is my total sales? Because here we must say total sales minus total variable cost. So how much is the total sales here? The question, the answer, yes.
The total sales is 5,760,000.
Okay, and then we say minus our total variable cost, which is no. Our total here is, this is 200. Our selling price, remember, our selling price is here, 200. Can I get the correct answer here? Nine million
600,000.
600,000. Okay. Then we have our total cost, our total variable cost. If there's a part that you don't understand, you ask. This is not what I was supposed to write here. Time is 48,000. So how much is the total here? I think it's what was there before. 5,760,000, isn't it? Is it like that?
Yes, sir.
Then I believe
Yes,
it's going to give you 3,840,000. So there are two ways to do it. The first way, I just took the answer that I got up, which is contribution per unit multiplied by number of units. The other one, I did it the traditional way, like you are selling something, my sales minus my costs. Break-even point. What is the formula for break-even point? Let's move fast. We are already 30 minutes in. What is the formula for break-even?
Fixed cost divided by selling price minus variable cost.
Okay. Fixed cost divided by contribution. Now, this is the direct formula, but I did not want to give it like that because If you memorize it or if you learn it as fixed cost divided by contribution, what happens if contribution is not given in the question and you don't know how to get contribution? You will just say, I couldn't calculate my break-even because say only taught us divided by contribution and the contribution was not given. So if you are advanced enough, you can write it that way. It's also correct. And you are going to get our fixed cost for this question is 96,000. Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. Oh, okay, it's per unit. I was scared it was gonna give decimals. This is actually contribution per unit. Let me just specify it here. Per unit, not just contribution, per unit. Because if you divide it with this contribution, just remember you are dividing with millions and you'll get decimals. So you will get here 96,000 divided by 80. And this is going to give us how many units?
1,200 units.
1,000?
1,200.
1,200. If you don't write the word units
100.
here, is it not 1,200 on the dot? Okay. If you don't write the word units here, unfortunately, you will get it wrong. There must be the word units. This is if you are doing it directly. But if you want to stick to the basics, you are going to say fixed cost divided by selling price minus variable cost. So you are going to do it that way. So instead of dividing with 80 here, you are going to divide with 120 minus 200 minus 120. Just know that when you are going to press this on the calculator, you don't press everything at once. You must first work out the minus, because if you press everything at once, the calculator is going to apply BODMAS. It will divide 96 divided by 200 first before it minus, because BODMAS means you divide first before you minus. Okay, so that's why even if you are doing it this way, you still have to minus first to get the 80. This is in units. Now we know break-even point is a point where profit is, break-even point is a level of production where profit is 0. Does it even make sense? Profit is 0. Where you are not making any profit. A point where your sales is equal to your costs. Where you are not making any loss, you are not making any profit. So according to this business is selling 48,000 units. If they sell only 10 units, they'll make a loss. If they sell 100 units, they are making a loss. If they sell 1,000 units, they are making a loss. But if they sell 1,200 units, their profit is 0. Any production above this, the moment they sell 1,001, then they will start making profit, and they will keep on making profit until they get to 148,000. So it's always advisable for the business for this break-even point to be a low number as possible, because it means they are making a loss, a profit early enough. This is much better because they are making a profit as soon as they sell 1,201, as compared to the same business that might have a break-even point of, say, 36,000. That means it's only after they sell 36,000 product that they will start making a profit. So it's always advisable that that the break-even point is a smaller number as possible. Okay, this is in units. Now, you know how many units you need to sell in order to make a profit. How much is that if we convert it in dollars? That is what the next question is asking. The next question is asking, calculate the break-even points in dollars. Calculate the break-even points in dollars. I don't know if there are two formulas here because there's another. Okay, there's not two formula. There's only the simplicity of it by saying the answer that you got here. The answer that you got here, this side, you just bring it here. You just bring it here, and then you multiply it with the selling price. Then you are going to get the break-even point in sales, which is also called the break-even points in dollars. That's why I put them together. So that if I put them together, it means if you know this, you must also know this because you are only going to multiply with the selling price. If you know this, then you must also know this because you are only going to multiply with output. If you know this, you just take this answer and you bring it here, and then you come and multiply with the selling price. So that's why when I designed this, it's also to make it easier for you to understand. So we are not going, there's a specific calculation for it. But we will not go to that calculation because whether you know the calculation or not, it will not make any difference. It will still give you the same answer as someone who did it shortcut. So if we know that, because here they are asking, how much money must I sell? How much must I sell in terms of money in order for me to break even? Then you just say, okay, in terms of production, I need to produce 1,200. If I need to convert it in money, I just need to multiply that with the selling price. I can give you this answer. 200, is it 240,000? Or maybe millions. This looks like millions.
Yes, 240,000.
Good, in dollars. So that's the break-even point in dollar. Contribution to sales ratio. If you see this, think of gross margin. I don't like the new word that we are now using in the term in grade 12. I think in grade 11 or maybe the old syllabus, it used to say gross profit to sales. Then a child at least knows it's gross profit on top divided by sales. But anyways, it's still the same thing. So it has two formulas. I only gave you one because I want you to understand it as such. You can either say contribution per unit divided by selling price per unit multiplied by 100. You can either do it this way. It's like, it's actually from here already, contribution to sales. And this word is what you are going to get. You will never get another word when they are asking for it. Contribution on top divided by sales. Just don't forget to multiply with 100. Contribution divided by selling price times that. Now, if contribution is not given, you must already know how to get contribution from this first question. Now, if the information that are given to you is not per unit, if the information that you have is not per unit, if it's not like that, you can still just say contribution, which is total contribution divided by total sales, and then you multiply with 100. It's still going to give you exactly the same amount. That is if the information are not in units. So, but I only gave you one. But both of them, because they are actually just calculating the same thing. It just, this is per unit, this is total. Now, calculate the profit or loss for the year using the marginal costing method. Now, this is very, very important because when we are going to other topics, especially decision making, this format, you need to know it perfectly. Let me first go and explain the format here. Marginal costing income statement. It's an income statement, just like the other income statement. It also calculates profit or loss, but it's done in marginal costing, in production sort of. Now, it has two formulas or formats. These ones, it's not for you to choose. It's depending on the type of information that you have. If your information is given as per unit, then you need to use this format. If the information is given as per unit. But if the information is given as total, where you have your total sales, your total variable cost, your total contribution, then you need to do it this way. Now, the two formats are exactly the same. Selling price per unit, total sales, less variable cost per unit, minus total variable cost. Contribution cost per unit, and then we have total contribution. You can see everything that we have here. You can see that everything here is just the same as here. The only difference here is per unit, per unit, per unit, and here is total, total, total. Now, this is now where the difference comes in. We have a problem here because I was just copying and pasting. This should not be here. I just copying and pasting, and this should not be here. If you wrote it down, just delete it. The final notes that I'm going to give you, I'll just make sure that I take it out. Yeah. So this one only have sales less variable cost contribution. This one is basics even from grade 5. How much you sold, how much is your cost, how much is your profit. Less, after you get here, it's less fixed cost, then you get your profit. But here, it's still the same thing. How much is your sale, how much is your cost, how much is your profit. But there is this part that has been added. Because this one, number of units, it's the only difference between the two formats. Because here you are dealing with per unit. In order for you to minus this fixed cost is usually a bigger amount. You need to convert, because this one might be 10 minus 5, then it's equal to 5. You can't say 5 minus 200,000. You need to multiply with the number of units so that this contribution can also become bigger. Then you can come and minus. I hope we get it. Let's calculate this. Now, we'll actually go fast because I think by now you have the grasp of it. But if you don't understand, you just stop me. Then I can re-explain what you don't understand. Our information are given in per unit. So we will use the per unit format because our information are given per unit. You can also use the other format, even if it's not given like that. The unit format has 2 columns. Okay, so we have the selling price per unit. Then we have the less variable cost per unit. Then we have contribution per unit. We can quickly work this one out. This one we already worked it out. It's 200 minus 120 minus 80. Now, if you check, our contribution is now 80. This is like our gross profit. Remember, our gross profit, we always minus our expenses. In this case, our expenses is fixed cost. Now, you can't say 80 minus 96,000. That is not going to work. That's why you must now say multiplied by number of units. How many units are we selling? We are planning to sell 48,000. And our total contribution, we already have the information here. We don't have to come and stress. 384. Unless if there's something you don't understand, then that's when I can go through it. Less fixed costs, 96,000. The figures don't really make sense because I'm just taking from the head. The business can make a profit of 84,000, but their fixed cost is only 96. The moment you have this situation, everyone wants to do that business because it's very lucrative. But the idea is for us to understand. Then it's not profit or loss. You must only choose one. In this case, it's a profit. Can I have the answer here? Can I have the answer? Time is going. We need to go to
744,000.
3,744,000. That's the profit. Now we go to calculate the number of units required to achieve a target profit. This is a question that you are likely to get. We just go straight to the formula. Aibo. Okay, it's here. This is the formula. Now, if you check this formula and this formula, they are the same. It only has a difference here because this formula gives profit of 0. This formula gives profit of 60,000. In our question, it's profit of 60,000. The question is asking, how many units must I produce if I want to make a profit of 60,000? With this formula, they are asking, how many units must I produce if I want to make a profit of 0? If I want to make a profit of 0, you must say fixed cost plus 0 divided by contribution. Anything that you plus 0 is the same. But here, if you want to make 60,000, it's the same formula, but you must say plus 60,000 plus your target profit. If the question say how many units must I produce in order to make a profit of 200,000, fixed cost plus 200,000 divided by contribution per unit. So the formulas are the same. The only difference is with this formula, you must add the target profit. So we already did this. So this should be easier to do now. So it will not take us time as well. Where is the question? Our fixed cost is 96 plus the target profit. If we want to find out how much is 0, we plus 0. Then profit as 0 is break even. And then divided by, if you check here, contribution per unit. You divide with contribution per unit, which is selling price minus the cost price. And our contribution per unit, we already know it as 80. That's why I say the moment you know the things on top, the rest of the calculations becomes easier. But if you mess them up there, everything that you are going to calculate below is not going to be correct. Now, can you calculate that for me? How many units must I sell?
1,950.
1,950. If you don't put the word units, unfortunately, it's going to be wrong. Very simple and straightforward. There's another, if you have done math on AS, you can derive this 200x because the selling price is 200. X is how many units minus 120x. Our cost is 120. minus fixed cost of 96, because this is now selling price minus variable cost minus fixed cost, must give me a profit of 60,000. If you derive this, you will still end up with this formula. Those of you that have math on AS, I think already with your eyes, you can already derive it. And you can see that this 96 will come this side and this will become a plus. And yeah, whatever, however you do it, I think you divide with a 2, yeah, I think you get what we are doing. I don't have math AS. So if you derive this formula here, you still come back. This is just the short and straightforward formula. Now, if you check here, I said this and this are the same. The only difference is you take whatever is here. When you bring it here, you take your answer, your target units, you multiply with your selling price. We already got our target units. S1950 multiplied by our selling price, and we get our final answer. Okay, unless if there's a question, that is the easier version of this topic. I could say the topic is done like that, but I've only taught you the easier version. There will be times when a question is coming, but it does not have a selling price. It does not have a variable cost per unit. It does not have the fixed cost. I don't know if it will not have this unit sold. That one I'm not sure. I've not come across it. This information that I given straightforward are not sometimes given. For example, our example 2. Brightech Limited manufactures a single electronic gadget. The company produces 1,000 units. So remember, there are 4 things that you need in this topic that you need to get. What are those 4 things? The first thing you need is your selling price. What is the second amount that you need to get? Those that you were listening.
The variable cost.
Variable cost per unit. What is the third amount that you need to have? There are 4 amounts that you need to have here. What is the fourth amount?
Cost.
The third amount. You also need your
Fixed
fixed cost. What is the fourth amount, which is not necessarily compulsory?
Total units produced or sold.
Total units produced. Now, in management accounting, I have not spoken about it. We assume that everything produced is sold. It's an assumption. It's usually in the theory. I think you'll find it in the theory. Everything produced is sold. So when it says the company produced 1,000 units, we also assume they are sold. So here, let's find out if we have this information. First one, selling price. All units produced were sold at a price of 150. So this part is, we are sorted. And it's given here as 150. So that part is sorted. Variable cost per unit. Now, it just says each unit of a product requires 2 kg of material X at 20 kg at $20 per kg, 3 hours of direct labor at $15 per labor hour, variable factory overheads at $5. So you can see the information has not given you the variable cost. Now, what are we going to do? Now, since it has not given us the variable cost in this case, straightforward, we are now going to start with our calculation. How are we going to do it? We multiply. One product will require $20. How many kgs? 40 kgs. So this is going to cost us, because remember, let me just quickly recap you on the on the manufacturing account. When you are manufacturing a product, you need your materials, which we call direct materials. And according to this question, it says you need 2 kgs of that material, and each kg is $20. So to make this product, one product, you need $40. You need $40, but that product is not yet done. This product also needs people, direct labor, people. And these people, how do we pay these people? We pay them $15, and they spend 3 hours per product. This is now what we call direct labor. We pay them 3 hours multiplied by 15, and this is going to give us 45. I think 45. You will just multiply. But this product is still not done. There may be still other expenses that are not direct material and that are also not labor, but they also contribute to that product. And we call this variable factory overhead. And this one is $5 per unit. So here there are no calculations. We just say $5. Now, in order for us to produce this product, we can see now that we need $40, which is made up of the 2 kgs that we are putting in, and each kg is $20. We also need to pay people $45 because they are spending 3 hours on that product, and we need to pay them $15. And we must also spend the $5 somewhere. So the variable cost, the total variable cost for this product will therefore be $90. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So now we know our selling price, we got it. We know our variable cost, we also got it. Now our fixed cost, the information just say, the following information was also available. So you are just given this. So you don't have a specific figure like in the other question, 96,000. Now it's for you to come to all this information and find out factory rent, is it a fixed cost? Yes. Factory supervisor's salary, is it a fixed cost? Yes. Insurance on equipment, it's a fixed cost. Depreciation on equipment, it's a fixed cost. Maybe it's because I was doing this in a hurry. I could have put something that is not a fixed cost here, just for you to think that I must not add this figure. But in this case, all these figures that are here are all fixed costs. So how much is the total fixed cost that we have?
22,000, sir. 22,000.
22,000 is our fixed cost. Total units produced is 1,000. Now, after we have done this question, after we have identified these 4 things, this question is now the same as this one. The only difference is that the information were not given to you directly. So this information are now the same. So from here, calculate contribution per unit, just the same way. Calculate the total contribution, calculate break-even in units, calculate break-even in dollars, calculate contribution to sales, calculate profit or loss using the marginal costing method. The same thing that we did. Calculate the number of units required to achieve a profit of 15,000. Calculate the sales revenue required to achieve the target profit in D, and that's it. Now what I'm going to do, because we are done, the only complication, when I say it was complicated, maybe some of you were expecting complications. The only complication is the fact that these figures are not given to you. You need to calculate them yourself. Now that we got them, I don't even know if I was supposed to give them because this is not supposed to be a homework, but I'm happy at least some of you did not copy it down. These ones, I'm going to leave this information on as it is so that you can use it as an example. I'm going to upload the video on YouTube just after our quiz. This one will be an example, and I'm going to give you this exercise. I'm not going to change this anymore. I will just do this, and you might just know that this is scratched out. Maybe I must do this. I hope this will work. You might just, it will not work. Yeah, but at least you might just know that it's scratched out. And I'm just going to give you this figure. I mean, this document with, this was not supposed to go out. So you can also use it as an example just to see how we calculated. I'll upload it after the quiz because there's just something I need to do quickly on the quiz. Now on the quiz, I'm going to upload your names. Okay, this one, we are done now. Because we are done, I can stop recording.